Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile, as usual with me, Alasdair McKenzie. Not the result everybody was expecting against Bologna, but Alasdair, we can even see the positive side, right? Maybe 1 year ago, this match Lazio would have lost it. Down one man, 2-0, maybe Lazio struggling, and Bologna could find 3 points very important. Instead, at the end of the day, we can say that Lazio could have won this match, and it's just 1 point. It's not good enough, but we saw some improvement. Let's start with the positive side this time.
I like that. Very sunny start to the podcast. It was a strange old game because I think we started off pre-match thinking, 3 points is a must, nothing else is acceptable. But then by the point you've gone behind twice and then had a player sent off with a third of the match still to go, you're starting to think, well, you know what, a draw's a decent result here. And then by the end of it, they've had a player sent off and we've missed a last-minute penalty. So you're back to where you started, being a bit angry about not getting the win. But it was a crazy old game. I don't really know where to start with this. It was absolutely, it was a crazy match.
Well, let's start from the first goal of Bologna, because I think we saw far too many mistakes against Bologna. Lulic was dribble pass way too easy, but then Ramos, Luis Felipe, how you want to call it, forgets to mark his man, who is all alone in front of Strakosha, and scores. Even in the second goal, Palacio is all alone in the penalty box, which is not acceptable. The red card of Leiva, that was a stupid foul in the middle of the pitch, and you cannot believe that a player with the experience of Luca Leiva make that mistakes. And then obviously you have to talk about Correa, that again missed incredible chances all alone in front of the keeper, and then the penalty. So I don't want to say that Lazio played great football, because they didn't, but the individual error this time for me made the difference, didn't allow Lazio to win this match.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a good place to start. I think to kind of expand on that as well, though, you're right in what you've said about the way the goals were conceded, the individual responsibility for those. I was kind of surprised to see a lot of the reaction. Well, I think the immediate reaction to this result was quite an angry one, probably predominantly because of the missed penalty late on. But, there's a lot of criticism being thrown at the defence as well, and it was a strange game because I didn't think we actually defended all that badly. I thought the structure, the shape was actually pretty good, and with 10 men, far better than I expected. I thought Lazio managed going down a man very well, which was surprising given how terrified Inzaghi always is of having players on a yellow card, like he can't trust them. But you're right. I think that's the thing that ultimately lets you down. No matter how good your structure is, your shape, if you've got players incapable of getting through 90 minutes without bad errors, then that's going to cost you. And Bologna are a good team. They took advantage of that. The thing that I'm most concerned about, I suppose, defensively, is that it kind of flagged up these weaknesses of defending crosses, and I think that's becoming a little bit of a theme now, unfortunately, from the goal that was conceded yesterday, but also there were 2 very good chances for Bologna late on in the match from headers, where they were I can't remember who the players were now, but they were completely free headers from close range.
I think it's the third time they score like that against Lazio. So
yeah, I was thinking D'Ambrosio's one, obviously. I think the Ren goal from a header. Anyway, the point is, I think that's a slight weakness that's been showing up recently, is conceding from headers, and it's a bit frustrating because otherwise I think that we're doing a decent job of restricting teams from playing their way through us like they used to. I don't know if you agree with that.
As I said, there have been some personal mistakes, about in this match. And take for example Lulic. He made that mistakes, and then the first goal of Lazio is thanks to Lulic. And after that, he didn't play that bad. But in a big match, a goal can make the difference. So Lazio should be more careful. But again, do you remember incredible saves from Strakosha yesterday? Bologna didn't have that many chances.
Now you're sounding like Inzaghi.
Yeah, absolutely. Spiace. So you cannot say that Bologna had that many chances, but yeah, they had a couple of headers that were dangerous. But yeah, and another thing, Alasdair, is, as you were saying, when Lazio went one man down, they played better. And I fear that the reason is because Leva was playing so poorly that when Parolo came in, Lazio immediately improved. And I think that Leva is not playing great football, and at the moment is better having Parolo in that position than the Brazilian. And so I'm quite happy to think that against Atalanta, that I know it's October, but it's really, really an important match now because Atalanta is 5 points ahead of Lazio. It's really important that we will have Parolo playing there, and there's not the risk that Inzaghi will play Leva because he's going to be... he got the red card, so he won't be able to play.
Well, see, I think that's a bit harsh. I have to disagree with you there. I thought Leva's first half was actually pretty good. I rewatched the match today, and I think I finished the game yesterday thinking that he hadn't played too well because I suppose your thoughts are often coloured by how the game has ended up, and obviously he was idiotic to get that second yellow card in particular. But rewatching the first half today, I thought he actually was put in a very good shift there. Problem is, I don't think we've seen a really good 90-minute performance from him yet because he actually played very well in the first half against Spal, but we all know how that game went. So I don't know. I mean, at first I was wondering, the immediate thought goes to, well, is this a sign of a player finally, given his age, maybe he's on the way down. But I'm not sure. I think he's set his standards very high since he arrived at the club, and perhaps as a result of that, people are more critical of him than they might have been otherwise. But I would disagree that he had a bad game before he was sent off, but I would definitely say that it was a stupid way to get sent off and not something you'd expect from a player with his experience.
Well, that changed the match. Lazio was lucky to not lose a match like that, but from a player from his experience, I think that's a terrible mistake. And I don't think it's because he's done as a player. I don't think about that. I think the biggest reason is because he missed a big part of the summer training, if you remember, because he got hurt. And, I think that's a big part of the reason why he's not fit. You were talking about Spal, and then he gave up in the second half. He didn't play as well. I think a little bit like what we're seeing from Lulic. They're not able to play 90 minutes or 95. And if you want to fight for the Champions League, then you need to play 95 minutes at a very good level. And at the moment, Leva is not able to do it. And this is why I think that the break comes at the perfect time. So Lazio will have time to recover Leva physically and maybe be able to put Lukaku back in the squad because, let's be honest, Alasdair, Lulic is not playing great football, but at the same time, Johnny probably is not ready to start in a Serie A matches. So the solution could be really Lukaku. And so these 2 weeks could be really fundamental for Inzaghi to get back Lukaku in shape to play, to start really for an official match.
Well, I think if Lukaku's the answer, you have to be worried about what the question is.
After this, we can close the podcast. Thank you very much for listening us.
I'm not convinced we're going to see Jordan Lukaku a player who's frustrated at the best of times return from this big an absence and suddenly be the answer to all our problems. I'd be amazed if we get anything out of him, if I'm honest. I think Johnny's getting there. I was impressed. I thought he made a good impact off the bench yesterday. I think, again, he's very new. We've talked about the fact that he's adapting to a new role and so on. So I think that he will be the guy who's going to step in for Lulic more when these games pile up, in particular after the international break. But that might take a bit more time. It's just a strange position to be in with all these left wing backs in the squad. I mean, Lisa Dermisi, don't forget, is still hanging about, earning a wage.
He's still alive?
Well, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, for me, I've been a bit surprised by the way that this result has. Well, in terms of the responses we've had on Twitter and so on, shouldn't be a surprise by now. But the fact that, you know, the way this game went, like I said, we could easily have lost this game and got a point from it. Showed good character to fight back twice from behind and stay in the game, actually create some good chances when down a man. And yet the response has been another kind of existential crisis of Lazio fans about the fact that Inzaghi should be sacked and the team is useless and all this stuff. Well, I just don't see it that way. I mean, I would have loved to get the 3 points. Should have had it if Correa had scored that penalty, but I don't really think it's any cause for panic from what we've seen yesterday. And if you look at the long-term goal, yes, you mentioned Atalanta being further ahead, but top four is the objective. We're 2 points off the top four. It's not a complete disaster, and we've still got much better performances to come, I'm sure.
Yes, 2 points because Napoli is really struggling. And, you know, Alasdair, I'm thinking, well, we said it when Ancelotti become the Napoli manager, that we were thinking that he would have struggled. It's coming 1 year later, can we say that? But, yeah, we have to see what happens with Napoli. But I think Napoli is a better team than Lazio. So if we are going to fight against Napoli, then I'm a little bit concerned, because I believe Napoli is a better team. So I think Lazio have to make the fight, the race against Atalanta, Roma, and be careful to Fiorentina, because they're coming back. I don't rate Montella a great manager, but, you know, Fiorentina won a couple of good games. And people will say, yeah, they played against rubbish team. Hey, guys, let's not forget that Lazio was able to lose against Spal and draw against Bologna. So let's not talk about...
That's strange, because I'm sure I read in Gazzetta dello Sport before this season that Milan were going to finish fourth.
Well, Sky Sport put it Milan fourth and Lazio eighth, so, you know. But someone said that Giampaolo wasn't a manager. He was, how can I translate it in English? Maestro di calcio, so what is it? Teacher of football, you know?
Yeah.
And that made me laugh so much that, you know, and yeah, unfortunately, sports journalism in Italian, it's at the lower level ever, unfortunately. And this is just the proof.
I think we need to address the penalty issue. And a lot of people have...
Penalty? I don't remember.
You probably wiped it out of your memory by now. Before we get into the penalty, first question I've seen come up on our timeline was from Fabi saying, not sure why Inzaghi subbed Immobile. A few people have brought this up, some in favour of it, some not so in favour of the decision to, after Lucas was sent off, bring off Immobile. I know what my take is on it, but I'll allow you to go first. What do you think?
I have to be honest and say that when I saw Immobile coming out, I said, what the hell is he doing? That's a terrible mistake. But then you have to admit that Inzaghi made the right call, because Immobile, it's very dangerous in the penalty box. We know it. We saw it. Correa, it's much more dangerous outside the box. And now with Bologna pushing and Correa having all that space, well, we saw the Correa we remember last year. And I thought about Lazio-Atalanta, the Coppa Italia final, right? When Lazio got ahead, then Correa started to become really, really dangerous. And, Lazio got Mendel sent off, Correa got it sent off, and Lazio became very dangerous. So I think that was a great move from Simone Inzaghi. And probably, Alasdair, if Correa didn't miss the penalty, we would be all today saying, what a great manager is Inzaghi. He changed the match with that substitution. Hallelujah, in Simone Inzaghi. Instead, Correa missed the penalty, and now we're all blaming Simone Inzaghi.
Yeah, I mean, I think my reaction was similar at the time. I think it was a bit of a surprise at the time to see Immobile come off, given he was on a hat-trick and so on. But again, having seen what actually happened on the pitch, it's impossible to argue that it wasn't the right decision. Like you say, Correa's better in those open spaces, and his dribbling ability and his pace on the counter-attack when we were a man down was the perfect weapon to have in order to kind of soak up that pressure and try and launch attacks that way. And don't forget, it was him doing exactly that led to Bologna getting their man sent off. But I actually counted them up earlier, and Correa's dribbles from counter-attacks, his dribbles and pace, after we had a man sent off, led to, in total, three different Bologna players being yellow-carded and one being red-carded. So he wasn't just good at making the most of that space, but he was winning fouls, putting the Bologna defence under pressure. And the problem is, though, this will get us to the penalty, that as usual, it's the finishing that lets him down. He seems to have everything else in his locker at the moment, but he's not managing to finish his chances. He had a couple of good one-on-ones with Skorupski that he didn't take advantage of, and then the penalty, as soon as he stepped up to take it, I turned to my girlfriend and I said, he's missing this. There's no way this is going in. And unfortunately, I was right, because he, on his form at the moment and his inability to finish off chances, he wasn't the man you wanted to see stepping up to take that. So while I think Inzaghi was spot on with that substitution, I think that perhaps he should have interjected and asked Alberto to take the penalty at that point. Retrospect's a good thing, though, isn't it? It's not very fair on coaches.
But Alasdair, I got the same impression when he went on the penalty. I was not convinced. I was pretty sure he was going to miss it. And I was hoping to see Luis Alberto or Milinkovic-Savic stepping up and said, hey, I'll take it, don't worry. And this didn't happen. So the fact that everybody was convinced that Correa was going to miss it. Now, I know that a lot of other people are lying, saying, now it's easy, he missed it. Yeah, I said he's going to miss it. But the concerning part is that he's not scoring a lot. He's missing so many chances. And for example, yesterday, we have to say that Skorpoluski made a mistake, for me, in the first goal of Ciro Immobile. Ciro was perfect because he saw the space, but if you go back and see the position of the goalkeeper, he was far too on the center of the post instead of covering the right side. And Ciro Immobile saw it and scored. Even on the second, he wasn't great. And then the only good save he makes is against Correa. I don't think it's thanks to the goalkeeper. It's simply Correa missing a great chance again. So, I know he wanted to dedicate the goal to his grandmother, blah, blah, blah. But Lazio needed points. And I thought, well, let's score the penalty and then we celebrate for Correa's grandmother. Because like that, Lazio is now 5 points below Atalanta.
Yeah, I have to say as well, I think that I just can't stand, it must be satisfying to score, but I just can't stand the blast it down the middle penalty technique, because you're always risking that happening, it seems a much higher risk strategy from the penalty spot to try and smash it as hard as you can down the middle than to actually just pick a side and concentrate on hitting it low and hard.
And always the penalty has to be kicked low, because if you kick it high, you give a bigger chance to the goalkeeper to save it.
Exactly. I disagree with the Skorupski Immobile's first goal thing, though. I think that was just a terrific finish, and there's a bit of a myth about goalkeepers and their near post. You should never be beaten at your near post. It's just not true. Of course you can be beaten at your near post. It's just about the quality of the finish. If you hit a finish as low and hard and as accurate as Immobile did, there's very little you can do about it. In terms of positioning, he's kind of expecting the shot to be wrapped around the other way, which a normal striker would do in those circumstances, open up your body and wrap it round. So I don't think his positioning was really at fault either. I think it was just an excellent finish. And that's, yet another theme that is been constant throughout the season, really, is that I suppose the term Immobile dipendenza is going to rear its head again pretty soon, because him and Alberto between them are contributing to almost all the goals we score this season. It's so hard to find. I think there's only about 3 goals in all competitions this season that we've scored that haven't involved one of those two players with either scoring it themselves or assisting. And that is a great asset to have. But just imagine the team we would be if the rest of the team started chipping in as well. And Correa is the biggest example of that. I mean, if he can start putting away these chances, our games are going to become a bit easier to get through, I think. Put it that way.
I have to disagree on Bologna's goalkeeper position on that goal. I saw it again from behind the goal, and it's evident the mistake. But apart from that, Ciro Immobile, it's fundamental at the moment, and he's in top form, so it's going to be really funny to see Mancini not playing him in the national team, because he already said that he will go with Belotti and alternate Ciro, which is simply unbelievable. But one point I wanted to raise is, now they're talking about the assist of Luis Alberto yesterday. I think I could have done that assist as well. I know we're going to count it as assist of Luis Alberto, but it reminds me a little bit like if I pass you the ball in the middle of the midfield and then you dribble past all the players and you score, that's an assist. But it's not really an assist, right?
That's my kind of assist,
yeah. Yeah, the assist of yesterday, Luis Alberto passes the ball wider, and Ciro Immobile, it's great to dribble pass and then shot and find the net. That's not an assist. Come on. And
come on, it does show it. I know what you mean, but it still shows his involvement in the goal and the fact that he was at the centre of the move. You could say the same thing about, Higuain's winner against Inter last night. I mean, that was a terrific goal. The pass itself from Bentancur wasn't anything particularly special, but it topped off an amazing team move. So it's still a valuable contribution.
No, I disagree, because that assist put Higuain in front of Andanovic. The assist of Luis Alberto was wider. Ciro Immobile had to go on the left side instead of pointing against the goal. It's nearly. I made it complicated, so I get the bonus.
Stop trying to find new negatives about this game. You've got enough to get going with already.
No, it's just to point out that sometimes stats are not telling the truth, right? Lazio defense was one of the best before Bologna's match, and we really didn't feel that way, right?
Well, this is an interesting thing. I mean, even now, you look at the goals against Cullen, and we are, joint third best in the league, conceded the same amount as Juventus, but then this tells you a bit more as well, also conceded the same amount as Udinese. So, but I think the points difference is a better indicator, and we're third in the league with that as well. So clearly something is going wrong here if we're scoring enough goals and conceding few enough goals to kind of compete with the biggest teams in the league, but at the same time we're just not getting the results. So yeah, again, like you say, the numbers don't always indicate what's happening on the pitch. Although, I mean, one thing we should really give the team credit for that we've not really touched on yet is that character, because look, that was something I know I did anyway, came in very hard on after the Spal game, the Cluj game. the lack of character in this team, their inability to front up to difficult situations, their inability to accept their own weaknesses after these moments. But yesterday, we really turned a corner in the last week since our last podcast with that. The fact that Lazio came back from behind to win against Rennes, which I was surprised to find out was our first comeback since that Fiorentina game in April 2018. Entirety of last season didn't get a single comeback win in any competition. And then to come from behind twice against Bologna, not just come from behind twice, but respond really quickly to their goals. And then on top of that, like I already mentioned, the fact that they stayed compact and well organised and managed to threaten. I was really impressed with how they played when they were a man down, even though it was only for, 10, 15 minutes. So I think, mentality-wise, character-wise, there are encouraging signs there, but obviously that's not going to be enough to placate fans who want to take three points from games like Bologna, because let's be honest, if we're wanting to finish in the top four, we're going to have to beat teams like Bologna.
Yes, and this is the problem, I think, with this team. You can see the potential. You can see that really Lazio should be... you see Roma, and you wonder how can it be possible that Roma is 1 point ahead of Lazio. But it's like that. Because against Bologna, Roma was one man down and scored at the last second. Lazio was one man down and missed a penalty at the last second. You can say that Lazio probably played better, but the ranking, the table, say something else. In the derby, Lazio should have won. They drew. It's always... Even against Spal, you can say the first half of Lazio was terrific. They lost. So, you can see very positive things, but you have to finish them. You have to finish the match. And Lazio is not doing it. So, obviously, you can think, well, if in 1 month time Lazio get it done, then obviously Lazio is a big favorite for the Champions League. But will it Lazio turn around these problems and solve them? Big question mark, I would say.
Well, yeah, it's the great unknown, and you're right. I mean, it is the infuriating thing about this team. It always has been, I suppose, under Inzaghi, is that when they're good, they're really, really good, and they convince you that they're good enough to be in Italy's top four. But there are these points of weakness. But look, I mean, we're 7 games into the season. This isn't a total disaster yet. We just want to see a bit more from them. I still think the performances at the start of this season have been better than they were at the start of last season. And don't forget, we still managed to be in the Champions League race deep into last season, despite starting in a poorer way. The one thing I would point out at this stage, though, is that it's starting to look slightly worrying, the kind of team you see at home versus the team you see away. Not only in results, but in performances. I mean, now the home games are 3 wins and a draw. The away games are, 1 win, a draw, and 3 defeats in all competitions, that is. So I think that it's, on the one hand, it's been really encouraging to see Lazio sweep aside Parma and Genoa as easily as they did in those home matches, because again, to finish in the top 4, we're going to have to make short work of those kind of teams at home. But yeah, we've got to find a way of dealing with those away matches just as professionally, because it's annoying to be so soon into the season and already have 2 games in, 2 kind of moments, I suppose, in Bologna's, the last minute penalty against Bologna and the second half against Spal, that you already feel like in May we're going to be looking back at that as kind of 4 points, more than that, 5 points dropped that would have been crucial, potentially.
Yeah, I know. And you're right saying that it's still October, so, it's not the end of the season. But you're already 5 points behind Atalanta now. Imagine in January. It's really important to win the next match against Atalanta, because otherwise the gap could increase. And it's funny to say this, but probably seeing the other teams is probably the most positive things, Napoli is struggling. Roma is struggling. Milan is a total disaster. Torino, that I was really concerned at the beginning of the season, is not performing at all. So you could see that really if Lazio played a little bit better, it could be easy to get to the Champions League. Because,
that's all we're asking.
Yeah, the other teams are really struggling. And I think it's easier for Lazio to turn it around. Roma, it's, I cannot believe what they did yesterday at the end of the match. That wasn't a goal anytime, It was clear that there was a foul. But they complained so much. Milan, they're sacking the manager is beginning of October. Torino is struggling. Napoli, a couple of weeks ago, Napoli was fighting for the Scudetto. Now, they are pretty much out of the Champions League if they don't start winning like that. So,
There's been a few different takes on this. Some of our Twitter responses we've had. I'm going to read out a couple of them here. Irfan Goharian said, I should say Bologna played very well. They've got talented players, a great coach and amazing fans. They deserved standing higher up in the table. Also, the ref was a big advantage for us. He gave us most of the 50-50 chances. And also, I believe before the penalty, it was Acerbi's foul. So I think he sounds quite happy with the point. And then Etano says, at what point are we going to collectively turn on Correa for missing so often? And also, when are we going to stop expecting to win all the time and just be happy with draws in away games like most teams? But I suppose that last point essentially comes back to what we've just been saying. We can't be happy with a draw in an away game against a mid-table team because that way we're not going to get Champions League, which is the objective. But Vittorio, what's your response to those comments?
I don't agree on the ref. I don't think it was Acerbi making the foul before the penalty. And yes, as you were saying, if we are happy to draw against Bologna, then guys, let's fight for the relegation because, that's what you're gonna do if you're happy about drawing against Bologna. It was good. Bologna is playing a nice football, but if Roma won, if you want to fight for the Champions League, you have to beat this team. And Lazio already lost against Spal and drew against Bologna. That's not good at all.
And what about Correa? I find him... Correa yesterday made me, not in a good way, think back to kind of Keita Balde in his early years. His emergence, when he was so electric at beating players one-on-one, at dribbling, at his close control, but he so often got into good positions and failed to not just score, but even pick out the right pass. That was always his problem, was the end product as well. So Correa is becoming a little bit like that, but we have seen him, finish chances well. At the end of last season, he was doing that. So we know we've got it in him. So maybe do you think it's as simple as just being a confidence thing? And if he can just get a goal, which maybe Inzaghi was hoping that penalty might do, then it might unlock him a bit for the rest.
But he scored against Sampdoria at the beginning of the season. I think he's a little bit too, in front of the goalkeeper. He never tried to break the goal. He tried to, pass the ball in the middle of the legs of the keeper, do the little lob past the keeper. Instead there, you have to hit, strong enough, high enough to avoid the keeper to save it, but without doing lobs or things like that. A simple kick. Instead, yesterday against Bologna's goalkeeper, he tried to put the ball in between his leg. No. Put it wide. There's all the second post free. Why do you try something like that difficult? Especially when you're struggling to score. Do the easiest thing, not the most hard. Because you don't have the confidence to do it, and you're going to miss.
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually a lot of the Lazio attack is guilty of sometimes trying to overthink things or trying to do things a bit too cleverly. There's a lot said for just getting shots on the goal and seeing what happens. And sometimes they play a pass too many, trying to do something a bit too cute, but... There's enough players in this team who know how to hit the ball, but maybe we can just get it I don't know, get them taking aim a bit more. A few people, again, we already talked about it, but Rami again, he was asking about the decision to take Immobile off or for Correa to take the penalty. I mean, the thing we didn't mention about Immobile as well is that Inzaghi did mention the fact that he played the whole game against Rennes as well, didn't he? So obviously fresher legs from Correa as well, which you need when you're down a man. And then his response to the penalty question, Inzaghi's, was, I thought, quite interesting. Vittorio, did you know the chain of command with the penalties? So Immobile is the designated penalty taker, and then behind that it's either Correa, Alberto, or Johnny. I didn't realise Johnny was a penalty taker.
I didn't know about Johnny, but if you go back and see all the summer friendly match, all the penalties was taken by Correa because Immobile was often out. So this told me that Correa was the penalty taker for Lazio this year after Ciro Immobile. So I wasn't surprised to see him taking the penalties.
Yeah. Well, here's another comment. Secret Samadi said, more lost points. Inzaghi, as an old striker, should maybe know that Correa is not a good finisher and give somebody else a chance to take that penalty. It looks like last season, mistake after mistake, bad place in tactics. I think there's a big difference, though, between being a finisher and a penalty taker. I think those are two different techniques, which is why you so often see, there are some very good, fullbacks, defenders even, as very good penalty takers. It's not necessarily one thing leads to another. And I don't know, it's... I think people are frustrated. I can hear the frustration. And yeah, I think that a lot of that for me stems from the fact that we kind of thought this was a new era because that's how the club themselves were branding this ever since Inzaghi signed his contract, and they kind of pressed the reset button and everything. But that's probably, for me, the main frustration of the fans is coming more from that than from the actual performances, is just seeing us drop points in these games, and which has been a theme for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, this is one of the problem of the team, right? We are dropping points against weak team, and then we have to win against the big team, and we know that against big team is not very easy. You cannot pretend to go to San Siro and beat Inter, especially this Inter. So, but if you arrive to play against Inter after beating Spal and so on, then you can even fight for a draw, or, be happy about drawing instead of being forced to win that match. And this is a problem of Lazio, not only of this year, of the past years. So we hope that Lazio would have improved, but we're still saying the same thing, Alasdair. But Alasdair, something we didn't say about the match that it's really important, I think, for everybody, is seeing Sinisa Mihajlovic. It was good to see him back on the bench. It was good to see that Lazio fan with Bologna fans the morning before the match went to say hello to Sinisa. It was nice to see Mihajlovic going near to the Lazio stand and saying thank you to the Lazio fan that was cheering. I mean, it's a tough fight, but it's good to see Mihajlovic back on the field. Now, the battle is not over, but, if he's there, this is a really positive sign, and we wish nothing but the best for Mihajlovic because, he's a big Lazio former player. We all loved him, and it's sad to see him in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Forza Sinisa. I mean, we've it's quite emotional, really, seeing those scenes. When he clearly doesn't look in great shape at the moment, and we can just hope that he makes a good recovery. But we've talked about it after his initial. The news initially broke, and said at the time that no better guy to take on something like that because he's a real warrior. So, and on top of that, it's incredible. He's put together a really decent team there. I mean, that's what a lot of people will be forgetting from being frustrated by Lazio. But this is a much better Bologna team this season than the ones we've seen in recent years, and a lot of good young players there playing some nice football. So it's absolutely outstanding that he's managed put that together in the meantime with everything else going on.
And let's not forget, Alasdair, that when he picked Bologna was nearly relegated, and Mihajlovic saved them last year. And
they had the wrong Inzaghi.
Yep, absolutely. And with Mihajlovic, everything changed. And now, I mean, they could fight for the Europe League if they continue like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if they quite get there. But yeah, they are a serious team this season, and I'm sure we won't be the last big team to go up there and have problems and have points taken off us as well. So that is worth remembering amidst all of this. But I don't know, Vittorio, in terms of the international break coming now, I think that when the last one arrived a month ago, it kind of felt like it was coming at the wrong time because we just had a pretty good start to the season, a couple of wins and then a Rome derby that we really came away with thinking we had to have won it. Whereas this time, how do you feel about it? Do you think that it's good to get a break and reassess things at this stage, or is it good? Would it be good to try and kind of turn things around immediately?
No, I think this time has come at a good moment for Lazio. As I said before, recovering Lukaku could be really important. Even focusing on some players like Lucas Leiva and Senad Lulic to have them back at the best. Even, try to put in Armini or work on Adekanye, let's not forget, or Johnny, so that they can be ready when the Serie A come back. Vavro not, because he's playing with his national team, so this doesn't help him. But I think overall, this is probably a better moment for the international break for Lazio. Injury-wise, the situation is still very good. But let's not forget that after that, Alasdair, Lazio is playing. The fixture is really complicated because there's Atalanta, there's Torino, Milan, Fiorentina. Now, I don't remember the exact order, but this should be the next 4 matches in Serie A for Lazio. So we are talking about a very tough schedule, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at here. It's within the space of a week after coming back. We've got Atalanta at home, Celtic away on a Thursday, and then Fiorentina away. And then 3 days after that, actually, the Torino game, and then the Milan game. So it's I forgot there's a midweek round in Serie A then as well. So that is a hell of a lot of fixtures. Between the 19th of October and the 10th of November, before the final international break, we've got 7 games. And that could be, well, it probably will be, if I'm totally honest, decisive on both fronts. About how this season's going to go in both Serie A and Europa League, because those Celtic games, now that they're top of the group, 1 point ahead of us, we're really going to have to get at least one win out of those 2 games, I think, to stand a chance of qualifying or even topping the group. And Serie A wise, we're playing a lot of direct rivals there. Atalanta in particular is a massive one, but then Fiorentina, Torino are creeping up, and yeah, Milan are a bit of a joke at the moment, a laughing stock, but don't forget, we're not that deep into the season, and if they do get a new coach in who can get a tune out to them, the reality is that they're only 2 points behind us. So, yeah, we don't know what what the context will be when that game arrives.
Yes, and don't forget that last time we beat Milan at San Siro was 89, so it would be time for Lazio to win again in San Siro. And yeah, it's a very tough schedule, so it's better that Lazio recover all the players, that they go back in form, they relax, etc. Because this next 4 matches are going to be really, really important. By the way, guys, if you're planning to go to Glasgow to watch Lazio, let's organize something, because we are going to be there. Well, we know because Alasdair is not coming, but I'm going to be there, so, we can have a chat before the match or afterwards. It's funny that a Scottish Lazio fan is not going to be in Scotland seeing Lazio, but, these are how things are going to be. So, guys, if you're listening to this...
Spent enough time there.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're planning to go to Glasgow to watch Lazio, let's write us a message so we can organize something before or after the match.
organise a big Lazio Lounge choreography. Get a huge banner.
I don't think it's going to be possible, but, we're going to send you a picture. Don't worry.
No, I'm genuinely upset I'm not going to be there because, like I said, around the time of the Europa League draw, I've been waiting my whole bloody life for Lazio to get a competitive game in Scotland, and then they go and get one as soon as I move to, well, not that long after I've actually gone and moved to Rome. So, it's a bit annoying. I did look at flights, considered it for a bit, but they're outrageously expensive already, which means that probably there's going to be a fair few Lazio fans coming over from Rome for it as well. So it's not the best away end, I'll warn fans. It's got a bit of a reputation for that, as having a terrible view, and you're a bit stuck up away from everything. But I'm sure it'll be a good experience.
I'm in the middle of Scottish fans, so it's going to be very difficult for me.
Oh, you've got a home ticket, do you?
Well, we don't have enough time to talk about the genius way that Lazio is selling the tickets. So basically, if you want to buy the tickets for Lazio for Celtic match, you have to go to Ticket One, but not online. You have to buy to the physical Ticket One office. And it's not done. You get a voucher. You pay the ticket, you get a voucher. Then you have to go to a Lazio store. And be careful, you have to bring the passport, the one that you're going to use when you go to Glasgow. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the ticket. You get this voucher. Then you go to a Lazio store, still physical, not online. And then you get the ticket. So, it would have been for me to go to Rome, get the ticket, and then get back, which is simply nuts.
This sounds a lot like the Roman bureaucracy I've come to know and hate.
Well, you're learning it, but Lazio is another level completely.
Yeah, not making it easy for you.
Absolutely not. Alasdair, do you have other questions, or we can wrap it up here?
I think we can wrap it up. Just before we go, probably worth a shout out to Luis Alberto, given it's an international break, back in the Spain squad, fully deserved. Great to see. I mean, he's been playing such good football at Lazio, but that is a very difficult squad to get into, and especially if you're a creative midfielder. So well done to him, and I hope we get to see him in a Spain shirt during this upcoming break.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, as you said, he deserved it. Well, he didn't play that great against Bologna, but in general, before he has been performing really high-level football. The old Luis Alberto would say that we saw 2 years ago. So that's good for Lazio, and it's good for him. He was really happy to be back in the national squad. But again, Alasdair, thank you very much for joining me. Guys, remember, we are on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, so you can find us pretty much everywhere you listen to podcasts. Please, if you listen on iTunes, rate and review the podcast. If you want to support the channel, there is our Patreon page, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. And we are on social networks, so you can find us on Twitter at Lazio_Lounge or facebook.com/Lazio Lounge. So please, if you want to get in touch, and please tell us if you're going to Glasgow, we can meet before or after the match and maybe do a podcast all together without Alasdair. So please let us know, and obviously enjoy the rest of the week. Bye, Alasdair. Bye, everybody. Good night.